it's one of those weird things that, yeah, when Bethesda lets a team do what they want, they sometimes they come out with something really awesome, and then at other times they come out with Redfall. Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, a podcast about entertainment, video games, anime, a little bit of everything in between. And I'm your host, Joe. And with me, the man who knows the true meaning of May 5th, the one and only Nick. So, Nick, please tell us all about Children's Day.
Children's Day is a day in Japan that was adopted by the Japanese like you adopt a child, but it was adopted by the Japanese from the Mexicans because they won a battle that day. And on that battle, during that battle, there was a brigade of children fighters that managed to sneak around the enemy and capture the flag and return it home, but they went the wrong way, got on a boat, and a few months later, not years, months later, they landed in Japan, and the Japanese welcomed them with open arms. Somehow the battle in Mexico was also won that day because it turned out it didn't have anything to do with capturing a flag, but the Japanese kindly commemorate the arrival of the Mexican children to Japan with May 5th, Children's Day.
Yeah, all right. Interesting story you weave. But
all of that is a fact. It's true. You can't deny any of it.
And China and Korea just happened to do Children's Day because...
Well, they stole it from the Japanese. I don't want to get political here, Joe, but they stole it, okay?
But I mean, is it really much to celebrate for just, beating the French? I mean...
Like, I had a Spanish teacher in middle school, and she was actually Mexican, and she kind of explained some of the holidays, and it's like, what? She was like, the holidays, she's like, the holidays are in Mexico are just for winning battles, because like Mexico really didn't win that many battles, so they kind of had to celebrate like each one that they won. So Cinco de Mayo, as I know, is a celebration of a victory in a battle, but I don't know anything more than that. Is it by the French? Was it against the French?
Yeah, it was against the French. 1861, 1862, something like that. And yeah, that is the legit, like, people think it's Independence Day, and that's September 16. I hope it's September 16 because or else I'd say that wrong. But whatever. My VP of my company would surely be upset for me getting that one wrong. No, in fact,
okay.
for our because of the holiday, we ended up getting a taco truck for our company outside our business.
That's so right. Okay.
It was pretty great, actually. It's just like, yeah, get whatever you guys want. Just the company's gonna pick up the tab. Okay. So yeah, sure enough, it was pretty great. So how have you been celebrating the day, man?
Good. I just had a beer yesterday. My company had a happy hour, and I had we went to Yard House. I don't know if you have those up there. Surely you have those.
Not that Probably. I'm just not aware of it. So the Yard House is just a pub, or?
I think they're nationwide, but maybe they're not in every city. But it's kind of it's a restaurant bar, really. I mean, I don't know about all of them, but most of the ones I've been to are really huge. They're like a huge restaurant bar, and they have all, just tons of food and drinks and stuff like that. So it's kind of just, it's just a very corporate, restaurant, I'll say, but they make a really good, I think it's called Korean steak and Korean fries or something. I don't know, but it's a really good take on steak and fries. and I ordered that along with a beer, and it was a good old time. We had a great old May the 4th be with you. Yeah, it was fun, and yeah, but today I just had a beer. So that's how I've been celebrating. How have you been celebrating, Joe?
Taco truck. I just told you all about it. Uh, oh
That's
man,
it. Okay.
yeah, no, things have been going good though. It's been
I had
the
tacos
last couple
too,
weeks been,
not from a truck. I made them myself. I didn't even think about it because it's normal for me. But okay,
you're
okay.
like it's called Friday,
It's
and that's what I do.
yeah. This is my life. I eat tacos.
So my kids know what, like, if they hear the word taco or certain foods or like trigger foods where they instantly hear that and they blurt out that's what they want and then they can't get their minds off of it. So when suggesting to my spouse about what we should make the kids, we have to get creative with names. So we end up calling when we want a taco, we're like, hey, should we make Mexican hot pockets, or Italian flatbread? So yeah, those are like some of our code names. It's like just charred bread for toast because he's like toast. Yeah, I'm like, yeah. So we're like, yeah, should we? We got charred bread. We got uh, wheat circles for Cheerios, things like
I,
that. You have to get creative.
I just want to like smash cut to like your kid being like 6 years old and going into like the cafeteria and going up to the cafeteria lady, can I just have some charred bread? And they're gonna be like, what? Charred bread, charred bread. And it's like black, it's like bread but like black. And then you're like, you mean toast? And he's like, yeah, that's another name for it. Just gonna be like, what the hell? What the hell did you do to your kid, man?
Uh, yeah, well, I mean, I like I said, it's like going around saying Mexican hot pockets will probably get him into a fight at some time in his life. So
He's got to learn how to fight sometime.
yeah, but no, it's
Is that
things have
chalupa?
been good.
Mexican hot pocket. Quesadilla?
No, that's I don't know what that would be, because that's half folded tortilla. So have you not had a hot pocket before?
I know what hot pocket
They're a
is.
burrito like style. I mean, we don't do hard shells. We do soft shell
Well,
tacos.
to me, though, so a taco, I guess a burrito would be like a hot pocket now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But like, so that makes sense. I was thinking taco, that's what you meant. But now that I see you meant
We don't do
burrito.
the hard shell. We do the soft shell, and that's but we have all the taco fixings. So it's technically a
Yeah.
burrito would be more of an apt description, but
I mean, like, for my family, actual hard shell tacos are extremely rare. Like we like never do that at home. Like we always just do soft shell, but then we use a comal and we get them extra toasted and then they kind of harden up. So I guess that's kind of hard shell. I don't know. We just don't think about it that way, but I can see how you would. But okay.
yeah. I mean, we have to have it into a burrito form because, or else the kid is guaranteed to make a mess.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, any enclosed device for eating is the way to go.
Smart.
So, but yeah, outside of that, yeah, same old, same old. How about yourself? Last couple of weeks, anything new and exciting?
I've been playing through little bits of a bunch of games, which I will dole out over the next several weeks. It's kind of storing up on that front as I try to watch more anime and other stuff, but that's pretty much it. I mean, we actually have quite a bit of news today, which is
Well, that's good.
a pleasant change of pace. I feel like the last since Christmas essentially we haven't had hardly anything in the news front, as far as what I'm used to anyway. But yeah,
Yeah, we've had just one or bit two big headline topics, and that's really been about it. But this seems like we got a little bit of smattering of everything. So, yeah, let's just cut to the chase, and why don't you get to it?
yeah,
So,
man.
what's first on the one docket?
So last time, 2 weeks ago, when we had our podcast, this had not happened yet. So we're going to cover it today. The Microsoft Activision deal kind of fell through. It was blocked by the UK I guess basically their version of the securities or mergers and acquisitions, whatever regulates that over there. They blocked the deal ultimately, and since then, Phil Spencer has said that they are appealing it. I read today that there's like 14 courts or circuits that they need to that they want to get it passed through, and it's been okayed by 9 of them. So they're going to appeal and try to figure out a way around it, but it's kind of a big blow to what they're trying to do. To me, anyway, I think they've kind of tried to downplay it and say it's it's a roadblock or whatever. We're going to get through it, but they've been trying really hard and to get it through, and it was seeming kind of dubious there for a while. I guess they really need it. I mean, I guess I guess I don't know anything about Activision. Is Activision a British company?
Honestly, I didn't think so.
Because I'm just kind of wondering why it's such a big deal to get it through the UK. I mean, yeah, UK and they must be connected with it somehow. Because if the United States okays it, that's like the main point. You just go ahead that way. But if it's if it's UK based, then maybe they do need. That's why everything is hinging on the regulating body in Britain.
They're an American company based out of Santa Monica, California.
Yeah,
so.
I didn't think that they were British or anything. So it's like, why don't you just let the deal? Why doesn't the deal just go through in America? You go ahead and you do America that way, and then I mean it's a pain, but the two companies can exist separately in Britain. But it's like, I mean, I don't know. I guess there's probably more to it that I'm just missing. But
I was gonna say, I don't know if it can technically. If it's one body here, I don't know if it can actually be legally split up into 2 separate entities over there. If it's noticed, I honestly I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of issue with the fact that you can't just purposely pretend like your company is 2 different things. Like, we're McDonald's here, but then when we're over there, we're going to be McDonald's and a different company or something like that. It's just like,
well,
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, there's got to be something. There has to be something along those lines, because it's like, why is it a big deal, to get Britain to comply with what they want to do? Obviously, it's not a small deal, but it's like, if you can go ahead and go through in America, just do that and then work on the British thing, later. So there must be more to it. But regardless, the deal kind of fell through. As far as that is concerned, I think they'll continue to try to make it happen. And I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about it. On the one hand, I'm like, I kind of think it's bad for companies to just become these mega conglomerate, monolithic things. I think that is it makes it harder on other businesses, other companies to do well. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, what is the, I guess that is the reason that they are saying to block it, is that it is going to be a bit of an antitrust situation, a monopoly type situation for games over there. And they're just trying to avoid that. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I also think it's one of those things that, yes, it's important to stop monopolies, but I also think it's more important to break up the monopolies we have, because depending on what region you are in America, you only have one real, true internet provider.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of places.
And they hit you really hard. I mean, you always got something like there's always a secondary option that's never as good as the primary, but the primary pretty much has a lockdown in your specific region. And it differs from like state to state. So yeah, that's things like that. I'm like, well, somehow they've managed to skirt the system, but yet we're getting really upset about, Activision. And I'm like, Activision's a massive company, but at the same time, I don't know. I still think it's going to be to their best benefit to release, their games. At least Call of Duty is the primary focus, in my opinion, and that be to the best interest to release it on all platforms. If we're going to make it exclusive, I don't. There's enough people who won't want to transfer just because I don't think enough people buy a system just for Call of Duty. I mean, yeah, people will kind of, like I have my group, I play Call of Duty, and it's whatever my friends go on, I guess. But it's like, if that's all they're going to do, you want the attachment rate to other games, not just, and with Game Pass, I suppose you'll have a little bit better situation there.
Yeah.
Uh, but I don't know. I just
Yeah.
can't see them like saying, no, we're going to completely cut Sony off from Call of Duty.
Yeah, I do think you're kind of right. Like that, I do think you're right on that. Call of Duty, if they did cut off Sony from Call of Duty, what they would essentially be doing in, the short term, they would make a ton of money. Don't get me wrong. But in the long term, what they would be doing is creating another Call of Duty, because Sony wouldn't go away. Sony would develop their own, and it would be pretty crappy for the first 3 to 5 years, but it would sell enough to keep going. And after 10 years, it would be probably as big as Call of Duty, just based on, having, having their own kind of captive audience. And then it might overtake Call of Duty, and then eventually it might be Sony that's like got the new version of Call of Duty, and that's like the biggest game in the world or whatever. And the actual Call of Duty might get shuttered or something like that. So I think that what Microsoft would probably do in that situation is they would always make it so that Sony would have to buy Call of Duty. They'd be like, we're going to lease it to you, and it's going to be just cheap enough that you like make money off of it, and it's just cheap enough that it's more expensive for you, Sony, to go develop your own Call of Duty. And I know Sony doesn't want to be in that position because that's.
Oh no. I mean, I think where it really hurts, where it would really hurt Sony is all the other studios that are underneath the Activision umbrella and any other side projects. That's where, in the long term, Microsoft can afford to make those exclusives, or at least, even with the Call of Duty example, the timed exclusive. Like that's what Sony did for a while. Be like, all right, first 6 months to a year, this extra content is exclusively to Microsoft, and then you'll eventually get to Sony platforms. And they don't want to be in that position. So I guess I think that's the real reason why they're pushing, because they still want to seem the most relevant and the strongest player.
Yeah.
It's right now, it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, yes, you can look at some consoles and stuff, but as far as the exclusives go, there hasn't been. Microsoft is weak on that, but they're really good on doing a lot of coverage for everything else. But unfortunately, with some of the new ports coming out, the consoles are looking pretty good, but the PCs unfortunately are not. But yeah, actually we have some of that on the news here. So why don't you tell us about some of the new games that have come out and maybe some of the issues we've had with them?
Yeah. So this week, Redfall has released to some pretty widespread poor reviews. The user reviews are very, very low right now, and the actual the critic reviews are not particularly great. There's been a lot of bugs with the game. I recently watched a particular YouTuber kind of going over his experience with the game, kind of showing his gameplay. And one of the major issues that I saw was the enemies have a really hard time with pathfinding. He was able to hide behind, not really hide. He was able to walk to the other side of crates or some like machine, and the enemy could not get to him. It could see him, but it was a melee enemy, and like all the melee enemies, they were not able to get to him for like a long time. Like they just kind of swiped and just kind of kind of sat there and he was like, huh, well, and he he's mocking it pretty good. He was taking a drink, kind of waiting, just kind of talking about it, and then he'd finally kill it, you know. So that's pretty egregious. Of course, everyone's really angry, displeased with the console version of Redfall being locked at 30 FPS. I think we knew that going in. In fact, I know we knew that going in. So that was something that people were not happy about in the first place. I got a chance to play a little bit of it. I played for probably about 30 minutes just to kind of open it up and see what it was like. I'm playing on an old system. I thought it was fine. I thought it was okay. Obviously, I didn't play that much, but something that I noticed pretty much immediately that I think a lot of people have noticed is the game definitely does feel pretty budget. The cutscenes are very budget. They're not animated. They are still pictures, like a pan over a still picture with maybe some 3D. You know, they're like in a 3D space, so they move slightly a little bit, but they're not really animated. There's really, you know, nothing about the game that particularly grabs me. The shooting seems fine, but not particularly interesting. So yeah, I think there's probably a lot. I think there's a lot of reason for people to be sort of upset with the game overall. Phil Spencer, talking about him again. He came on, I believe it was the Kind of Funny podcast, their video game news podcast. He came on there and he apologized for the game, saying that they had done some test reviews of the game and it had scored quite a bit higher than what it's actually scoring. So they were kind of surprised by that. So that's kind of what's going on with Redfall. I don't know how much you had experience with it so far.
I unfortunately have not had a chance to play it. I was trying to get my system set up for it. Had to make room on both my console and my PC. But from some of the bugs that I've also seen the video footage of, there was issues with texture pop-in. The police station fire station in the beginning, the crest on the bottom stays blurry for like almost 30 seconds, 10 to 30 seconds, just waiting there, and then it pops in it nice and clear. And that happens quite often. Even the blood stains from the enemies and such. It's very. It just takes forever for it to complete. And you're mentioning about the enemy AI, and I've also seen footage of someone like just watching the AI stumbling upon themselves trying to get through an archway, and then the person just walking up behind them, quote unquote stealth killing one of them, and then walking up to the other one, and the other one reacts like he realizes his partner is dead. Then they just continue to walk up behind the next person and melee him. There's also the vampires that happen to like freeze in place, and he's just able to punch them to death. So there's a lot of bad issues with the combat in that front. So it was kind of a disappointing, thing, especially coming from Arcane, who did Prey. They did Dishonored. They do very good work. They did Deathloop, and a lot of people like that one as well. And so I'm not really 100% sure what happened. It kind of feels like it reminds me of Platinum games where you have that A team, B team, or like analogy, because Platinum either knocks it out of the park or they drop the ball. But this is Arcane's always done it well. They've always done everything solid, and so for this to happen, it's just like, who was sleeping behind the helm? It's like it just feels like there was some sort of really bad miscommunication across the board. And for the amount of bugs everyone seems to be finding, there must have been a lot of people lying about what their experiences, testing were, or their crunch was so bad that they just like, we have to get it out the door and we can patch it later. But that just, it's a tarnish on your image and your brand for not only Arcane but for Microsoft as well. So they really should have just waited. People would have been very upset, and I know you have investors and stuff to answer to,
Yeah.
but
Apparently,
honestly, yeah.
apparently Phil kind of addressed that because I think he kind of knew that people would say, well, you should have just waited and figured it out. And he said, but first of all, I'll say I think that you're right. I think that a game coming out like this, where the AI is not finding you, where it's clearly broken, like the main point of the game is the thing to try to kill you, so you have to kill it first. If that doesn't work, you need more time with the game. I'm sorry, you just need more time. But he said that what people are saying is the problem with the game, that more time would not have really sorted that out. And while I kind of I more agree with you that you need to take more time, I do see his point a little bit. Ever since I heard about this game, I was kind of like, I don't understand why people are excited about it. To me, it didn't seem like it was planning to do anything that was really going to change the game or blow me out of the water or have a real reason to make me want to play it other than hype, other than people are kind of expecting it to be good. And it's like, oh, it's Arcane. It's like, yeah, Arcane makes good games. They kind of have a reputation for making good games that don't sell. But they're critical darlings. They make good games. But like looking at the game, before it came out, when people were talking about it, I was very much like, it's a good studio, but I don't see the good idea. I don't see the novelty to it. And it
novelty is you have friends to play with. That's the novelty, that you're going to be able to have. So when they first showed it, a lot of people, including myself, kind of felt that it was supposed to be like a Left 4 Dead competitor.
Mm-hmm.
And so after Back 4 Blood kind of fell a little short from expectations, it's like, hey, another person or another group is going to give this a shot. And it's a good studio. It's a solid studio. I mean, not saying Back 4 Blood didn't have a good foundation, but like, hey, maybe this will do it better. And then later on they showed footage being like, no, this isn't one of those games. This is actually like a story, a campaign. And that's always a lot of fun. Even if it's not the best, like you can still get a lot of enjoyment of just doing things with your friends. But when it's broken, I mean, the only enjoyment you get out of your friends is you all get to mock it together. And yeah, outside of that, it's just like, even if it was just an okay game, so long as you're playing with your friends and it made it really, and you can always increase the difficulty to create the challenge. But if the AI and the enemies won't even hunt you down, there is no challenge. So
and then it's not fun. Yeah. I think that you have a point there. The novelty, I guess, is Arcane making a multiplayer game. Like a true like multiplayer. When I did fire this up, I did get Back 4 Blood vibes, but I haven't played it multiplayer yet. I hope that we get a chance to. But from what I could tell, playing through it a little bit, even without the bugs, I think it would be hard for this game to be as good as Back 4 Blood, even. Not that Back 4 Blood was particularly amazing. It was fun, though. I just don't see this game really being able to match that.
I would have loved for Back 4 Blood to have still framed cutscenes, though. That was the only thing that I was really upset with Back 4 Blood, is you would have the most bare minimum dialogue in the background, and if your friends were talking, they would literally, you wouldn't be able to hear the quote unquote story going on.
Yeah.
And that was a shame, because if it had just a little bit of a sliver of a story to really connect it, that would have been really nice. But yeah, I enjoyed Back 4 Blood actually a bit more than most, but that's because I enjoyed also having multiple groups of friends to play with. and it was just really nice being, because we really don't get a chance to get together all that often. Um, so when it came to this, I'm still kind of looking forward to it in a weird, what now it's more of a weird twisted way. But I would like, quite a few of my friends had been to get this thing downloaded. I'm just the only one lagging because I had to make enough space on multiple hard drives, and I don't have enough time to do all that in one night.
Yeah, it's tough.
So
Yeah, it's tough.
yeah,
I don't think the game is. I don't think the core gameplay as intended is bad. I think that it's. I think that it's just kind of boilerplate, not particularly, novel. But I don't think it's bad. I think the shooting is okay. So, I hope they can get the bugs fixed, and we can maybe kind of see what this game is really supposed to be like before we give it a final say. But for now, it's looking like it's in pretty dire straits.
all right. Well, speaking of dire straits, now we got another game out there that also has not been too well received, at least on the PC front, and that's going to be the new Star Wars Jedi Survivors. I don't know how much you know about what's been going on with this.
Yeah, we were kind of talking before the cast. I confess to you that wasn't really on my radar. I just saw that Jedi Survivor had already been discounted 10%, and people were kind of saying that's definitely not a good sign. But I didn't know about some of the other bug things. But you apparently do. So let us know about that.
Yeah, so it's been, essentially there's been a lot of stutter struggle, as Digital Foundry likes to call it, and it's the compilation issues with the game. It's really bad on PC. Consoles apparently are pretty fair, and they've gotten okay reviews across the board. But as far as PC goes, it's a lot of people are arguing that this is like unacceptable and unplayable. And as far as a quality game of this, you're expecting more from a game like this, especially since a lot of these issues also happened to the first game, Fallen Order, when it first came out.
Oh,
They had to patch these things out, so these weren't like a new occurrence. They knew, you know, I don't know, if you haven't learned from your mistakes the first time around, then it's kind of most definitely a shame on you situation.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just been a really rough for PC ports this year. And this one seemed to be getting raked over the coals by a lot of people. I have not played the game at all, so I actually don't have any firsthand experience on this one. But it's just, I really like that, the last game. I thought it was a really fun take. A little longer in parts than I would prefer, just because if you wanted to complete it like 100%, there was some backtracking involved, and there wasn't a quicker way to do it because the maps were kind of big. Um, and I was also playing on a PS4, so the loading times were kind of, an issue. So with this one having the new hardware, you think it wouldn't be as big of a problem, but yet there's still so many problems. So that's actually, I think, why people are so angry at it. And yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that this is yet another game this year with another issue, and it's not even that, we're only in May. So
Yeah.
so we'll see what happens in the near future, but
I'm kind of thinking
hopefully
that
things start looking better.
I'm kind of thinking that Redfall and Jedi Survivor probably their respective companies were looking at the release window, and June is going to be a massive month. The rest of May, I mean, Zelda's coming out a week from now, essentially, and then June, and then is going to be a big month, and there's a couple more big games. So it was either kind of released right now, or I guess wait until fall, when probably some other even bigger games were probably going to come out. I'm just kind of confused. I'm like, why not push some of these games? I know they've been pushed a million times, but like it's always better to push than to have a game come out that's known for being buggy rather than being good, especially this buggy and this kind of half-baked as both of these games seem to be. But I guess the people in finance are like, nope, it's gotta be when we say, and this is it.
Yeah, there's always the financial backer that
It's good.
is more or less pushing the force, pushing the things out, and like there has to be people on the dev teams who are like, no, we really shouldn't be doing this, but in the end, whoever writes the paycheck tends to win. So
Well, that, and I kind of think it's like so you're a developer and you've made promises. You're like, yeah, we can hit this date and blah 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 blah, and then the date comes and then it gets pushed back and then it gets pushed back again. And finally, I mean, your job is kind of on the line. It's either like the game gets like either you have to give in and say, okay, we can release the game, or they're gonna go, you have basically like just you've basically just lied about what you're able to produce and provide, and it's become a big problem for the company because you the developer weren't able to get it done on time and right, and so it's like okay, it's gotta release. I think that might be kind of some of the problem with it. If I had to guess at what's like really going on behind some of these scenes, but yeah. Anyway, we still have some more news. I'll go ahead and jump on to the next thing. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has leaked. It's came out a couple days ago. It leaked a full 10 days before its scheduled release. This is bad. Copies being in the wild is not unheard of or really unexpected this close to release date. The problem, though, is that it's already been ripped to PC. It's already on the internet in full. It's yeah. So that on its face is obviously really bad. I was reading an article kind of saying that sort of the reason for this seems to be that Nintendo, I don't know, like the way that they release games is the old school way where the game is just, it's on the cartridge or on the thing and it's just ready to go. So when it's out on the street, waiting, or when it's in warehouses waiting to be put out, it is like the full game and you don't need any kind of code or anything to activate it. So anybody that leaks that or kind of lets it fall off the back of a truck, then has, anybody that picks that up has access to it in full, which, that is all nice for the consumer when they actually buy it and it's like ready to go, but it's bad for the company whenever it leaks because it gets everywhere. I think they've been doing their best to shut all those leaks down. Some people apparently were stupid enough to stream it, of course. Wow, it's just really dumb. But yeah, so Nintendo might decide to make an example out of them. But yeah, it's unclear how big of a problem it's going to be for Nintendo ultimately. I don't know. I don't know how many of their potential buyers are really going to be affected by this, but it's definitely not a good thing at the very least.
see, I couldn't remember if they were having DRM on this one because I know Denuvo is the popular DRM of choice. Uh, it's a Zelda game, so the story is very minimum in my opinion. It's always been that way for all of them,
It's a fair assessment.
or at
Yeah.
least most of them, I should say. And so, I mean, I feel that any fan that would really care is going to, even if they wanted to look it up, they're still going to buy it and play it. It really won't matter to them. It's not good. They're not going to read it and be like, "Yep, all right, I'm done," or like just watch it or
Oh
something.
yeah, the spoilers. The spoilers to me are not, because I thought that same thing. I was like, well, it's a Zelda game. You're Zelda. You fight the things. You save the princess. We're done.
They, as far as the being ripped, now that stinks. But I think also, once again, the majority of people who would actually download it and play it are people who wouldn't buy it anyways. At least not right away. And anyone who knows Nintendo knows that it won't go on sale for a very long time. So it's not like it's not like most PlayStation or Xbox games where in 3 months time it's going to go on sale. it probably won't, not until the very earliest, maybe Black Friday,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
if
maybe
that.
a 1 year anniversary or something like that. So that's the way I think that'll happen. And so most people who anyone who's interested would buy it. Those who download it probably weren't going to buy it anyways. So it does suck though, because you don't want your stuff being stolen. I mean, you go through the issue of making it, try to make everything good. So I'm just curious how the more interesting is like how the copies get out in the wild to begin with. um, you always hear stuff like this from everything from, like, the Harry Potter books, someone stealing it from like the warehouse, some employee or something like that. And so I'm kind of curious the original source and how it got out, other than maybe some retailers, someone letting a box slip or something like that. And you see that too. I mean, but you also see games often go on sale that are street dated, from the on like Facebook Marketplace. I saw the Hogwarts come out on sale like a week before,
Mm,
and they weren't asking too much more for it. They were like, yeah, 120. I'm like, you know what? If I actually cared, that would actually wouldn't be a bad deal. But you're buying something blatantly stolen.
yeah. Yeah.
So
It's definitely illegal. Um, but
like,
yeah.
I understand you buy one copy, but when they're selling like six copies or something like that, you're like, yeah, that's totally stolen. So you have to be
Well,
careful when you buy merch like that.
well, I think what's happening is, you're talking about people who are warehouse workers or, retail workers, and they're not, I mean, they're not particularly concerned probably with keeping their job long term. So the risk, is there. Oh, sorry, I had to sneeze. The risk is there, but it's not really that big to them, especially with the amount of money that they potentially could make if they, I mean, if you happen to steal, 50 of these or 100 of these copies and you sell them for $100 a piece or even more to people who want them early, then it's stand to make a pretty good amount of money compared to how much you normally make at your day job and as a retail stock boy or whatever. So I think that's probably what's kind of going on there. You bring up a good point though about the de novo thing, because I think that I'm reminded that Nintendo did say they were going to start working with somebody like that to create DRM for their games, which nobody was really happy about. But I think that seems like it might be necessary now. That's what people seem to be the most concerned with, the reporters or people that look at these things, is not so much copies getting out in the wild, but being ripped to PC. Because when it's the full game is on PC, then it's not even about spoilers that you have to worry about, story spoilers. It is the true essence of what makes a game good, which is the gameplay that is available to people who are so inclined now. But yeah, I don't know. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in some of these meetings and be able to see how much this leak actually affects sales. I doubt it'll be all that much. I think it's still going to be a massively successful game. But yeah, I would just like to know the truth. But I don't think I'm going to get to at any point soon.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. All right, so what else we got? We got one last bit of news, I believe, and it's something about Final Fantasy. You said?
Yes. One last little thing. Just saw this. I think it might have been posted yesterday or something. But Final Fantasy 16 has been banned in Saudi Arabia. I read a news article from, I believe it was a Video Games Chronicle, and apparently the regulating body over there in Saudi Arabia is blaming Square Enix, saying that they've been asking the developer, the publisher for a long time to, I forget how they put it exactly, but basically to make the small changes to the game necessary for it to be able to be released in Saudi Arabia. They're not specifically saying what that is, though I do have an idea of what it is, but they're not specifically saying what that is. But they seem to think that it wouldn't have taken very much for Square Enix to be able to make the game releasable in Saudi Arabia. Ooh, it's thunder and lightning outside. Hopefully we don't get shut down again. Anyway, so basically, but of course they would say that, they would shift blame off of themselves. What people are guessing that the problem is, and the reason for it being banned in Saudi Arabia, is it's probably due to LGBT content in the game that the publisher is not willing to get rid of or change. And so Saudi Arabia is a country that does not jive with that so much as the West or even the Far East. So. And I think that's probably a fair assessment. That was my first guess as to why it's not there. I guess it just remains to be seen. Eventually, it'll probably come out as to why, though whether Final Fantasy 16 will come out is very much in doubt.
Yeah, I know certain MMOs have made exceptions for certain countries due to their laws and the way they perceive things, like in Japan, or in some quite a few countries, the color of blood for certain scenes will have to be changed.
Yeah.
And so China and stuff like that, you can't necessarily show blood the same. And so they'll change the color of it to green or something like that just to make it different. So a lot of zombie games in Japan is also at fault for this, so you have to switch it up. I believe you're not allowed to show skeletons in China. So they've had to remove. Yeah, so if you have bones lying around, you have to remove those for certain games. And so it's not uncommon to make those kind of those changes. But when it comes to a hot button topic like this, I think if Square, in their eyes, if they make that kind of change, they'd be giving up or conceding a value of theirs, and it's more likely to do them more harm than good. And so, it's worth it for them to go ahead and stay by their morals and, just not change it. If that is indeed the case for this particular instance. But since they didn't outright say it, I mean, it's kind of rumors and speculation then,
yeah,
right?
That's fair. Yeah.
But it is more of a hypothesis, an educated guess on that one for sure.
Yeah.
So.
You're talking about having to change things. Famously, Fallout 3 had a particular scene early on involving an atomic bomb, and that had to be removed from the game for the Japanese release. Due to some sensitivity around that topic, obviously. So yeah, you're right. There's a lot of things that, depending on the region, kind of have to be worked around.
Japan also had for Homefront. I'm pretty sure it was Japanese release of Homefront. They weren't allowed to have, essentially, say North Korea was the ones who invaded America, and so instead they just said the country from the north. Which makes it seem like Canada is the one who came up and pretty much took over America. It's like it was quite funny in that respect.
Yeah, that was a very.
I don't even think they changed character models. So.
Well, no one's playing that game anyway, so nobody really gave a crap. But I kind of wonder, because if it is LGBT content, changing a couple things around, a couple lines of dialogue, might have been all that would be needed, depending on, the cutscenes. So I'm kind of thinking that whatever if it is along those lines, if that is the case, then it must be kind of baked into the story of the game, or maybe crucially important. So yeah, it's something that is going on right now, and we'll see if anything gives on it, anything changes. But for now, yeah, Final Fantasy 16. I guess Square Enix is not too worried about the game's release in Saudi Arabia and like-minded countries.
Yeah, I mean, but it's one of those things that they're gonna sell gangbusters anyways. It doesn't matter.
That's true.
But all right, and now down to what we've been playing. Unfortunately, I've been pretty busy lately, so I have not gotten a chance to play a whole lot of anything new. I just got to enjoy more of that Resident Evil 4 remake, and I have had a really good time with it. I didn't get around to finishing it, unfortunately, but uh, I did run into just some minor issues with my Xbox and my controller. So I was like, I got hung up trying to perfect the shooting gallery, and
Oh.
I just can it was one of those things that like I'm there, I'm like, I can't move on till I get this as perfect as I can, and eventually I just like, all right, I got S rank, I can't get S plus, I'm out. But I was at least able to uh I made it pretty far in the game. I've made it to third, the island portion, and yeah, I'm probably going to be finishing it up here real soon. But honestly, I'm looking forward to getting around to touch some of the other games that I have on my backlog. But other than that, it's like not much else that had changed since I mentioned it before. It's still really good. I highly recommend it. It's if you don't know if you should play the original or this, um, it's one of those things that for an academic purpose, go ahead and play the original first. But honestly, if you had to only pick one, you're not hurting yourself by playing this and making this your only experience with the game. Um, I fully enjoy it. It is just a little bit. It's just different enough, but honestly, it's still a great game. So
Yeah, that's good.
all right.
That's good. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say yeah. Just that's about it. So nothing else new on my end. So what about you?
Speaking of games that we have mentioned before on this podcast, I played a little bit of Hi-Fi Rush for the first time. I played about an hour of it. Good game. I enjoy it a lot, even though it's a rhythm game, which I'm usually pretty terrible at. And ironically, I do think it could be a little bit more difficult, even on normal. But the combat itself is fun. The tutorial moments I found were a little bit too frequent. I think it would have been better to fight a few more enemies between the tutorial sections. Kind of get like, okay, this is, kind of having a little bit more fun, and then like another tutorial pop up. But it's really cool, this game, that they were able to work in the copyright owners for the songs, so that you could stream it, or like then they have like a mode that's like safe for streaming, safer for streaming. And then they have a mode that's like, well, if you're not streaming, then like we can like really let it go and play the songs like exactly as intended, so that you won't get copyright warnings or strikes or anything like that. But as far as the game itself goes, I think it's really good. I think the gameplay is very nice, solid, interesting. It allows you to do cool things if you're talented enough, but it also doesn't hurt you if you suck at rhythm games. Like it'll still let you get through. You'll still have some fun, but it is really satisfying to get that rhythm down, and get a good combo off, or like chain a bunch of combos. For my playthrough, or the bit I played of it, I almost never did anything with the directional button until I absolutely had to. I was particularly focused on just getting the combos right, and so there's a lot of times where I'm like swinging at like dead air, just because I'm trying to keep that combo going, and I'll get to the enemy eventually, but I got to keep this combo alive, so I can get my nice S rank, which I was able to do a couple times. Most of the time I was like A and B rank, but sometimes I was able to sneak up into that S rank for a particular area, which always felt good. The story is pretty thin, pretty like hey, you're a kid, and
You're only an hour in though. That's the thing. It gets so much better.
oh, okay,
There's so much more to do in when you get to there's a hideout you'll unlock,
I did. I
and
just unlocked that. Yeah.
there is so much more additional dialogue with other, like, all of it is completely skippable. So you can just ignore everything, go straight to the next mission. But if you would like, if you want to go down that path, there is a lot there.
Okay.
Yeah, I was never good enough to really worry about doing the like the combo system or like the challenges that they had. I'm like, you know what, that's a little too much effort that I'm willing to put in. But the game's an amazing game. It's Tango Gameworks doing their really good stuff. It's kind of it's one of those weird things that, yeah, when Bethesda lets a team do what they want, they sometimes they come out with something really awesome, and then at other times they come out with Redfall. So
Yeah, that is the bittersweet aspect of Bethesda as a publisher, I guess. Yeah, the game's good. I enjoyed it. For what I've played, I've kind of sunk my teeth into some other games since then, though. So I don't know how much I'm going to play it for the time being. But yeah, good game. Definitely a bright spot for Xbox Game Pass.
yeah, for sure. And it was one of those things that it was amazing that it came out from out of nowhere, seemingly. Everything was kept under wraps, no leaks, no hints, no rumors, just it was there, it was announced, and it was out.
Yeah,
So that was one of the biggest surprises, in recent memories.
that's the way I like it.
So, all right. So what have you been watching, sir?
So yeah, not too much on this front. I've been watching a few things, but a lot of them are just kind of meh. But there's just one show that came out on Netflix a few weeks ago called Beef. It is it is a mostly Asian cast, which is a bit of its claim to fame, I guess. It's a 10-episode TV show from the studio that made it is A24, which you might know from plenty of other movies. They tend to make kind of artsy films, a little bit more on the artsy side, Cannes Film Festival type stuff. And it's about it is apparently based on a true event of road rage that happened to one of the writers. How far that truth, how far that based on that subject actually goes, as far as the story is concerned, probably is not super far because some pretty crazy stuff happens in this show. But it's good. It was pretty good. I watched the first couple episodes and I thought I knew where it was going, and I kind of did, but which was kind of down a dark road that I was not really sure I wanted to be a part of. But I gave it a break, and then I came back to it, and about that third or fourth episode, I was like, okay, I think I'm in for the long haul on this, because it's not that it was uninteresting in the first parts. It was very interesting, but I was wrapped up in the story enough, and there was enough of the right kind of interesting things that were going on that made me go, okay, I'm ready to see how far this really goes. And it does go pretty far out there in the last two episodes, especially. But some of the actors in it, Amy Wong, who is a comedian, she is one of the main roles, and she's a pretty good actress. She does a pretty good job. She does have some pretty funny spots, but that's not her main role in it. Her main role is like to get the acting done and to carry the story out. And then I think it's Stephen Yuen. He was in Walking Dead for many years. As what was his name in Walking Dead? He was like everyone's favorite character for the longest time in Walking Dead. but he's in it, and he is also a pretty terrific actor. He actually has a little bit tiny singing part in one of the later episodes at the beginning, and I was like, dang, this guy can freaking sing. And it's like, of course, he's a Hollywood actor. They can all sing and dance and act. They're all triple threats, you know. Yeah. Anyway, it's a pretty good show if you're into a little bit of an artsy thing and you're ready to kind of cringe at what some of the characters they're going to do, and it's not going to be good. I guess kind of cringe in the good way in that sense, then this show might be for you. But yeah, overall, pretty good, pretty interesting.
That's cool. Yeah, it's not normally part of your wheelhouse to do something like that. So yeah, thanks for bringing that to the table. On that front, we are pretty much done with the show today. So if you guys made it to this far, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And hope you all have enjoyed your Children's Day celebrations and your Cinco de Mayo, I suppose.
Happy Cinco de Children's Day to you.
Yeah, and yes, until next time, thanks for watching. This has been another Dead Pixel, episode 43. Take care, guys. See you later.
Thanks. Bye.